Bukwas, Zuniquay, Sabe, Box, all names for a similar creature in the oral traditions and teachings of the First Nations. Deep in the ancient forests of the Pacific Northwest, where mist clings to towering evergreens and shadows play tricks on even the most rational minds, there exists a possibility more unsettling and intriguing than the mere existence of an undiscovered primate. What if Sasquatch isn't simply just an elusive creature of flesh and blood, but something that treads on the boundary between our world and another, between spirituality and our reality? The countless witnesses who report Sasquatch vanishing into thin air, the strange lights that often accompany the sightings, and the creature's ability to evade capture despite centuries of human encroachment might just point to something far more mysterious than a surviving population of great apes. Consider the indigenous stories that speak of spiritual beings who can shift between physical and ethereal forms, guardians of sacred places who appear to those who venture too deep into those forbidden territories. The traditions often describe Sasquatch not as an animal, but as a powerful entity that exists simultaneously in multiple realms. The electromagnetic disturbances often reported during the encounters, the inexplicable feeling of dread that overcomes witnesses, and the frequent failure of electronic equipment when the creature's presence all suggest something beyond conventional scientific understanding. The most compelling evidence for a paranormal Sasquatch might just lie in the very pattern of its appearances. Unlike normal animals that follow predictable patterns based on feeding, mating, and territorial behaviors, Sasquatch sightings often occur at moments of great personal significance to the witness. These encounters frequently happen at crossroads in people's lives, during vision quests, or at times of spiritual crisis. It's as if the creature manifests not by chance, but with purpose, appearing to specific individuals at specific times, like a harbinger or messenger from beyond our ordinary reality. Modern research into quantum physics and the powerful nature of consciousness might offer a framework for the understanding of such a being. If consciousness itself is fundamental to the universe, then, as some theoretical physicists suggest, perhaps Sasquatch represents a form of intelligence that can manipulate the fabric of reality itself. This could explain the creature's apparent ability to pass through solid objects, tendency to appear in dreams before physical encounters, and the profound psychological impact it has on those who experience it. These footprints themselves tell a strange story, appearing and disappearing along trackways, sometimes showing impossible pressure distribution, as if the creature's weight fluctuates between steps. More puzzling are the cases where prints simply stop in the middle of open ground, with no disturbance of the surrounding soil or vegetation. The physical anomalies suggest an entity that can phase between material and immaterial states, these challenging our understanding of what constitutes a living being. Perhaps most intriguing is the possibility that the paranormal Sasquatch represents a kind of psychic watershed, a phenomena that exists at the intersection of human consciousness and our natural world. In this view, the creature both serves as a sentinel and a symbol, manifesting more strongly in places where boundaries between mundane and supernatural reality grow thin. This would explain why certain locations become hotspots for activity, why encounters often cluster around sacred sites, and why the creature seems to respond to human thought and intention in ways that no ordinary animal could. Long before European settlers arrived in North America, the indigenous peoples held deep-rooted beliefs about these forest giants. The Sasquatch people of British Columbia spoke of Sasqu'ets, from which the term Sasquatch derives, describing them as powerful spiritual beings capable of turning into anything they desired, but not quite a shapeshifter. The Coast Salish tribes believed these creatures were the withdrawn protectors of the forest, possessing supernatural abilities including telepathy and the power to paralyze humans with fear. The Lakota spoke of the Chaitanka, or Big Elder Brother, considering them to be sacred beings that served as intermediaries between humans and the natural world. These weren't merely physical creatures, but spiritual creatures and entities that existed simultaneously in both the material and the supernatural realms. The modern era of Sasquatch research began in 1958 when Jerry Crew cast the first plaster footprint in Northern California. But the phenomenon truly captured public imagination after the famous Patterson-Gimlin film of 1967. This short piece of footage shows what appears to be a female Sasquatch walking along Bluff Creek, California, and remains both the most scrutinized and compelling piece of evidence for the creature's existence. Despite decades of analysis using increasingly sophisticated technology, experts still remain divided on its authenticity. The film's subject, dubbed Patty, displays muscle movement, joint flexibility, and a natural gait that would have been nearly impossible to fake with the costume technology available at the time. The proportions of the figure, particularly the length of the arms, the width of the shoulders, and the position of the head, differ significantly from human anatomy in ways that align with other eyewitness accounts. What's often overlooked is the strange phenomenon reported during Sasquatch encounters: electromagnetic interference, unexplained lights, feelings of intense dread or peace, and even cases of telepathic communication. These paranormal aspects have led some researchers to suggest that Bigfoot might not be simply an undiscovered primate, but something far more extraordinary. Witnesses frequently report their electronic equipment malfunctioning during encounters, from cameras failing.
There's 4 feet right there.
An investigator measures an unusual series of footprints left in the snow in Washington state. A cast is taken and failed attempts are made to replicate the 4 to 6 foot strides required to leave the trail.
He took time off work, photographed them, filmed them, actually followed the trail in the snow to where the Sasquatch apparently stepped onto some ground soft enough for him to make a partial cast.
John Bindernagel is talking about the efforts undertaken by a fellow Sasquatch researcher. Bindernagel himself is a wildlife biologist who has documented evidence he says is left by the legendary creature.
The eyewitness descriptions, eyewitness drawings, tracks and track photographs and track casts, very important to me, very compelling.
Those casts are included in presentations Bindernagel gives to the public.
End as abruptly as if the creature simply vanished into thin air. Some researchers point to the correlation between Bigfoot sightings and other paranormal phenomena, including UFO activity, unexplained lights, electromagnetic anomalies. This theory points that these beings might be able to shift between interdimensional or space-time in ways that we can't yet understand, and explaining why, despite thousands of sightings, no definite physical evidence has ever been recovered. Indigenous elders have long maintained that Sasquatch represents a different order of being, not a spirit, not flesh and blood, but something in between. Their oral histories describe these creatures as stick Indians or forest giants. who could render themselves invisible, communicate telepathically, and traverse the boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds. These traditional beliefs often align surprisingly well with modern theories.
11 years old. Me and my younger brothers and cousins and friends, we were out in our chicken coop that wasn't quite finished, so the windows were open. And we were playing in there. It was kind of cold. It was in March. And we were flying a kite, and we only had one kite, so we were all huddled around this one kite. And we let it out as far as it could go, and then as we were reeling it back in, because we started to get cold, one of the kids, he looked this way. He looked down the road, and he said, Who's that guy watching us over there? And we all looked, and we were like, we didn't know who it was. But whoever it was, he was really big. He was tall, taller than our little fence pole, came up to him about to here. And the fence pole we later found out was about 5 foot something, maybe 8. He looked kind of hairy. He had no neck. His neck was really short like that. And he seemed like he had really long arms. Because he would stand there and watch us, and every now and then he'd lean over like this, and then he'd stand back up and watch us some more. And we were frantically winding in our kite, and we wouldn't let it go. And then it started to snow a little bit, and as it got more and more snow, his coloring, it became gray from the snow. But he stood there, and then finally one of my little brothers, he said, I'm gonna go tell Dad. So he ran out of the door and was heading around the corner, and within that split second it was gone. It ran into the trees, so it disappeared like just in a blink of an eye.
Belief and science are totally different things. People are seeing something. The question is, why are they seeing it? Is it more of a cultural influence? Is it the need for a big hairy monster in our minds? We don't know, yet the phenomenon has persisted since prior to written record. The exact reason for this in various cultures is as yet largely unstudied and undetermined.
I think we're dealing with a living creature, an unknown primate of some kind. We interviewed probably 1,000 people, and out of that, we obtained 125 very credible sighting reports.
Some people say that the Sasquatch to them is just a mythological creature. Nothing to do, it's not a real creature of flesh and blood. If the creature is a mythological creature, the mythology has to come from someplace. It doesn't just pop out of a Kellogg cornflakes box.
You can trace this information back as far as there are records and all over the world. And yet, as far as I know, there isn't a dime or an hour of official scientific time spent to study this. Just nobody will touch it.
My work with the Sasquatch has been something of a problem in the academic world. I'm quite sure I have had a lot of difficulty getting promotions and pay raises because of this. The way I like to describe it is my university supports my Sasquatch research. They don't fire me.
He wasn't in a hurry. He took big steps. He probably got across the road in probably about 6 or 8 steps. And then when he went up the side of the bank, he stopped for a few moments and looked at us, and then later when he turned to go up the mountainside, he was moving. So that's when we knew for sure it wasn't a human being, because he was moving.
It turned half its body this way and looked directly down the road at me. And turned back, started across the highway in big stride.
Some Native American traditions even suggest that Sasquatch serves as a kind of guardian or gatekeeper between the worlds.
Whispers of an ancient legend echo through the canyons and across the mesas. The Navajo speak of Biki Nitsa, a mysterious creature akin to Bigfoot. This elusive being is said to roam the remote wilderness, its presence known by an eerie silence that befalls the land wherever it goes. Bukwas is described as a towering figure, covered in thick, dark fur, with eyes that gleam like embers in the night. According to the elders, it is a guardian of the natural world, protecting sacred lands from those who would do harm. Sightings are rare, but those who have encountered Bukwas tell tales of an overwhelming sense of awe.
Modern research into the Sasquatch phenomena has begun to embrace more unconventional methodologies. Teams equipped with infrared cameras, electromagnetic field detectors, and other sophisticated equipment report complex patterns of anomalous activity in areas of frequent sightings. Some researchers use meditation and conscious-based approaches, attempting to establish peaceful contact through mental projection and ritual practices derived from the Indigenous traditions. These efforts have yielded intriguing results, including structured patterns of wood-knocking responses, unexplained vocalizations captured on audio equipment, and thermal imaging readings suggesting the presence of large, warm-bodied beings that remain invisible to the naked eye. The geological and electromagnetic properties of Sasquatch habitat areas have also drawn scientific interest. Many sightings occurring near fault lines, areas of high mineral content, or regions with unusual electromagnetic properties. Some theorists suggest these conditions might facilitate the intersection of different dimensional frequencies, creating windows through which these beings can more easily pass and manifest into our reality. The hypothesis is supported by clusterings of sightings around certain geological and geographical features and the correlation between periods of increased electromagnetic activity and Sasquatch encounters. Perhaps the truth lies not in choosing between physical and paranormal hypothesis, but in recognizing that reality might be far more complex and multifaceted. That's not it. The enduring mystery of Sasquatch challenges our understanding of reality itself, whether viewed through the lens of cryptozoology, paranormal research, or indigenous wisdom. These beings seem to represent something far more profound than simply an undiscovered species. Their continued elusiveness, despite advanced technology and extensive search efforts, suggests their extraordinary intelligence and adaptability, or a nature that transcends our conventional understanding of physical experience. Perhaps what truth lies not in choosing between physical and paranormal hypotheses, but lies in recognizing that reality might be far more complex and multifaceted than our current scientific framework and ideology allow. Sasquatch may very well represent a living challenge to our assumption about the nature of consciousness, reality, and the thin line that lies between the natural and supernatural worlds. So, in the end, we are left with the question: is it a flesh and blood creature? Is it a interdimensional creature? Is it a figment of our imagination? Is it some guy running around the forest, leaving giant footprints and doing crazy stuff like that? Me personally, I am still thinking it's a flesh and blood creature. Not really on the side of the interdimensional, but hey, could be. Let me know what your opinion is in the comments. and I will reply to them. Let me know what kind of content you want in the comments. And take care. I'll see you soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.